The envelope wasn't supposed to be opened until Monday. That was the plan. I had everything timed out. The fake business trip, the airport Uber, the hotel reservation I'd never use, the draft email scheduled to send once she'd gone to work. I even left the thermostat programmed so the house would feel normal without me. But no, Tessa came home early and laughing. I heard the door open while I was still upstairs. I didn't panic. Not right away. She wasn't supposed to be here. She had told me. No, she had promised me. She was staying with her sister in Middleton all weekend. Girls' mental detox, she said. Wine, facials, deep talks, no boys allowed. Right. I wanted to believe it, like the fool I've always been. But when I heard her heels hit the hardwood, that too familiar rhythm, and her giggle echo off the hallway walls, I knew. I knew before I even heard the voice that wasn't hers. A man's voice. I froze. 2 steps away from the bedroom door, holding the duffel bag with my clothes, my birth certificate, and the divorce papers I had finally decided to serve. They were still on the bed. The envelope, wide open. The papers, scattered. The signature page, missing. Then I heard her voice again, sharp, cutting through the air like it owned the space. Wait, what is this? Emery. She was laughing a second ago. Now her voice was shaking. I didn't come down. I didn't answer. I didn't move. I just stood there, realizing the moment was no longer mine. She found the envelope before I expected her to, but she hadn't found the safe yet, or what I'd taken from it. And when she did, oh, she'd wish it was just the papers. Tessa's voice kept rising from downstairs, wobbling between anger and panic, like she couldn't decide which mask to wear. I could hear her footsteps pacing across the living room, then stopping, then starting again, quick, sharp clicks of her heels that made my stomach tie itself in knots. I hated how my body reacted to her moods, like I was still trained to flinch at every shift in her tone, like she still owned that part of me. But this time the fear was hers. I finally stepped out of the bedroom, moving slowly, because somehow that gave me the upper hand, her not knowing exactly where in the house I was. And from the landing, I could see her silhouette. She was standing by the entrance table, clutching the stack of documents she'd ripped from the envelope. Hair mussed, dress wrinkled, her makeup smeared in a way that told a story she'd tried to deny. And behind her, half hidden behind the doorframe, was the guy she brought home. Not that she'd ever admit it. Not that he looked proud of it either. He stood there like he accidentally wandered into the wrong house and hoped no one would notice. Tessa whipped around the second she heard my footsteps. Emery, she said, but it came out softer than she meant it to, like she was trying to rehearse anger but forgot the lines. Why were these in an envelope? Why were they hidden? I didn't answer. Not yet. Because her eyes hadn't landed on the second thing that was missing, the one thing that would make her face drain of all color. She threw the divorce papers onto the table like they were burning her hands. This is ridiculous. This is some kind of sick joke, or her voice died mid-sentence. She suddenly turned toward the hallway closet. She noticed. The lockbox. Gone. Her whole body stiffened. Where is it? She snapped her head toward me, and for the first time in months, maybe years, she actually looked afraid of losing something. Emery, where is it? I leaned on the railing with a kind of calm I didn't recognize in myself. Which thing are you asking about? The papers or the box? Her voice cracked. The box. You didn't open it. You wouldn't. She was wrong. I would. And I had. I wasn't stupid. I'd known for weeks something was happening behind my back. The late nights. The sudden gym obsession. The mysterious Cassidy breakdowns that required lipstick and heels. And the whispering. God, the whispering, when she thought I was asleep. So I checked the lockbox, the one she guarded more carefully than her wedding ring. And when I found what she'd been hiding inside it, the thing she never expected me to see, everything changed for me in a single heartbeat. She stepped toward the closet like she could magically pull the box out of thin air. Emery, bring it back. Right now? This isn't funny. You don't understand what's in there. I finally met her eyes. I do. Her face drained. The man behind her shifted, visibly uncomfortable, like he suddenly realized he hadn't just walked into an awkward morning. He'd walked into a disaster he wanted no part of. Tessa took a shaky step forward. Emery, what did you do? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I didn't beg like I always did. I just said the truth. While you were out laughing about your harmless night, I made sure you'd feel something for once. The panic in her eyes doubled. because she still didn't know what else I'd taken. And she definitely didn't know who I had already talked to. She kept repeating my name like it was supposed to do something. Like just saying Emery with a panicked tone would undo the choices she made. I swear, for a moment, I could see her trying to summon the version of me she was used to. The one who'd trip over himself to fix things, who'd apologize even when he hadn't done anything wrong, who let things slide just to keep the peace. But that guy was gone. He disappeared the night I opened her cloud backup. That lockbox she was panicking over? It didn't just have cash and a spare key like she claimed. It had her old phone, the one she lost 6 months ago during a weekend trip. I guess she forgot it was still connected to her cloud. Or maybe she thought I was too clueless to ever go looking. She was wrong. I didn't just open the phone. I downloaded everything. Thousands of messages, photos, even voice notes. I spent 3 nights on the couch reading them with shaking hands and a stomach so twisted I could barely eat. The messages weren't vague. They weren't flirtatious. They were explicit, detailed, cruel. She had told him things about me, private things. She mocked how I talked, how I dressed, how I cried during our wedding vows. They called me safe. They laughed about how he'll never leave, he's too soft. And she said it like it was a compliment. I had names, dates, hotel receipts, screenshots. I even had the message she sent the morning after their first time together, saying, "It didn't feel wrong." Isn't that weird? Like, it felt like freedom. And now, standing in front of me with mascara still smeared from last night's freedom, she had the nerve to ask me what I did? I stepped down one stair at a time, slowly, calmly, as if this was just another morning. Her little side guy, or whoever the hell he was, looked like he wanted to vanish. He kept glancing toward the door like he was going to bolt. I didn't stop him. I wasn't here for him. "Tessa," I said, and it stopped her cold. I hadn't used her name in weeks. I'd been calling her hey, or you, or nothing at all. Her eyes widened like it was some secret signal she didn't understand. "I sent copies of everything." I continued. "To my lawyer, to your sister, to your father, to my mother, and to your jobs ethics office." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. I walked over to the table and picked up the crumpled divorce papers. I wanted to do this quietly. Give you space. Let you keep your dignity. But you walked in laughing. Like none of it mattered. Like I was disposable. She took a shaky breath. "Please, don't." "You already did." I cut in. "You did it months ago." I just finally caught up. Behind her, the guy turned and left without saying a word. Coward. But I didn't care. He wasn't the target anymore. She stepped toward me, voice trembling, like she might try to cry. "Emery, please. We can fix this." I almost laughed. But I didn't. I just pointed to the closet. "You're going to need a suitcase. You've got 10 minutes before I change my mind about calling the cops." Her face turned pale. But she hadn't even discovered the worst of it yet. Not the joint account. Not the lease. Not the photo I left on her nightstand. The one she'd recognize instantly. The one that would make her scream. She didn't move. She just stood there, mouth slightly open, trying to process everything at once. The divorce papers, the empty closet, the missing lockbox, the truth she couldn't laugh her way out of. Her breathing had changed. It was shallow now. Scared. That part of me, the one that always wanted to comfort her, twitched for a second. But then I remembered what that photo showed. It wasn't just any photo. I'd printed it the night before, 8 by 10, full color. I'd placed it carefully on her pillow before I left the bedroom. Exactly where her head would have rested if she hadn't spent the night reconnecting with herself in someone else's sheets. The picture was from 2 weeks ago. Her, in a hotel bar, sitting beside a man whose hand was resting comfortably on her thigh. Her eyes were closed, lips parted, and she wasn't pulling away. The image came from a private investigator I hired after I caught the second girl's trip lie. I didn't even have to dig deep. She was careless. She thought she was untouchable. The hotel was 20 minutes from our house. I watched her now, still frozen by the stairs. Then, slowly, she moved. She didn't say a word. She walked past me like she wasn't even real, just a ghost in last night's dress, and pushed open the bedroom door. A beat of silence. Then a gasp. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just short and sharp, like someone realizing they'd stepped off a cliff. Another beat. Then I heard it. A low, trembling sound. Almost like she was choking on her own breath. She walked back into the hallway with the photo clutched in her hand, but she wasn't holding it like it was a piece of paper. She was gripping it like it had weight, like it could burn her if she dropped it. "Where did you get this?" she whispered. I didn't answer. She stepped closer, fury now creeping back into her voice. "Were you following me?" "No," I said. "But he was." I gestured toward the hallway, where my PI had waited in his car for hours, blending in with traffic, documenting everything she thought was invisible. Her lip trembled. "This is illegal." I laughed bitterly. "So is what you did with a married man." That shut her up. I walked toward the kitchen, grabbed the folder I had left beside the toaster, and tossed it onto the dining table. "That's everything," I said. "Every hotel, every receipt, every message, the full timeline. The lawyer already has it." She opened it, scanned it. Her knees bent slightly, like she had to sit but couldn't find a chair. She dropped into the dining chair without looking, paper shaking in her hands. "Emery," she said, voice thin as paper. It wasn't serious." That broke me. "Not serious?" I snapped. "You told him I was a dead weight. You said you were just waiting for the right moment to upgrade. You don't get to backpedal now." She put her head in her hands. "I didn't mean it. You meant every word. You just didn't think I'd find out." She stayed silent. And for once, so did I. I turned away, heading for the door. My bag was already in the car. My destination? A rental apartment I'd signed the lease for 3 days ago. She had no idea. She still thought she held the strings. But this wasn't her story anymore. It was mine now. And she was about to lose more than just me. Because she hadn't checked the bank accounts yet. Tessa always thought she was the clever one. The one with the charm, the upper hand, the exit strategy. She'd throw me scraps of affection when it suited her and roll her eyes whenever I asked about her spending. For years I played dumb because I was scared. Scared that if I looked too closely at what we'd become, I'd have to admit it was broken. But after I saw what she did, and who she did it with, fear turned into clarity. So while she was out playing single, I was busy moving everything out from under her. I didn't do it all at once. I was careful, strategic. It started with the joint savings. I had it rerouted to a new account in my name only. She never noticed. Then I canceled the automatic transfers that went to her wellness fund, which, surprise, was mostly being spent at hotels, bars, and gift shops. I closed the credit cards tied to my name and left her with just the ones she opened on her own. High interest, low limits. Appropriate. But the real fun? That came when I pulled the final thread, the house. Technically, the deed was in my name. Always had been. Her credit was bad when we met, so I took on the mortgage alone. Over time, she forgot that detail. Or ignored it. But the law didn't. And neither did my attorney. A week before she brought that stranger into our home, I refinanced. Quietly, I switched the mailing address, locked the title under a trust, and removed any access she had to home equity. The best part? She had no idea. Not until this morning. I had left the last envelope for her, on the kitchen counter this time. Inside were 2 things, a cashier's check for exactly $1,327. 44, the amount she had personally deposited into our joint account since we opened it, and a note. The note simply read, "What you put in is what you get back." At exactly 11:04 a.m., I got the call. She was screaming. Not crying. Screaming. She had just tried to use her card to buy a flight, probably chasing some desperate plan to stay with a friend or run to one of her backup boyfriends. But the transaction didn't go through. Her account was frozen. She must have called the bank and gotten the full update. Then she called me. I let it go to voicemail. The message started calm. "Emery, we need to talk." Then came the panic. "You can't do this. This isn't fair." And finally, the rage. "If you think you're going to ruin me and get away with it." Click. I blocked her number. I stared at the phone in silence, sitting in my new place, smaller, quieter, but peaceful for the first time in years. I wasn't trembling anymore. I wasn't confused. I wasn't even sad. Because for once, she was the one feeling powerless. But she still hadn't realized the final move I made. She hadn't checked her job email yet. And she had no idea what I found in that cloud backup about her boss. There are moments in life when the pieces snap together so perfectly, so viciously clean, you start to wonder if fate just got tired of watching you suffer. Tessa thought she was untouchable at work. She worked in HR. Ironic, I know. And she always talked about how nothing sticks unless it's in writing. Well, turns out she put plenty in writing. I just had to read through enough backup messages to find them. Thousands of texts, Emails, Slack messages she thought she deleted, all recoverable from that old phone she never wiped. But the one that made my blood run cold? It was sent 3 months ago to her direct supervisor, a man named Clay Mendel, regional director, father of two, with a public image so polished he probably had his smile trademarked. She wasn't just sleeping with him. She was manipulating him. The message read, "Emery's gotten worse. He's obsessive, always checking up on me. He's not dangerous, but if something were to happen, I wanted you to know. Just in case." That "just in case" hit me like a freight train. She was laying groundwork, preparing the story, prepping him, in case I ever tried to defend myself. She wanted to paint me as unstable, so if things blew up, she could keep her job, her image, her control. That wasn't self-protection. That was a preemptive smear campaign. So I decided to introduce Clay to the actual Emery. I crafted a polite, clinical email. Attached were 10 curated screenshots, conversations between them, audio messages of her calling her clients idiots. One particularly creative rant about how she could leverage HR rules to destroy people she didn't like. I included her message about me with the timestamp. And then, just for effect, I added a scanned copy of the wedding photo I found torn in half in her car, along with a short note. I was never the threat, but thank you for confirming who is. Emery D. Lennox. I hit send at 9:27 a.m. on Monday. By 11:03, I got the read receipt. By 3:41, she called me 5 times in a row. By 4:10, I got a single, desperate text. "Why would you do this to me?" I didn't reply. Instead, I watched the fallout from a distance. She was suspended pending review. Clay didn't answer her calls. Her company launched an internal ethics investigation, and word got around fast, because people love to talk when the gossip involves someone who thought she was invincible. She once told me, "You'll never leave because you don't know how to exist without me." Turns out, she was half right. I didn't know how, until she gave me every reason to figure it out. And now, she was standing in the ruins of everything she tried to build over me. But there was still one thread she hadn't pulled. The neighbor. The one she never knew saw everything. Tessa always underestimated quiet people. She mistook silence for weakness, smiles for stupidity. That's probably why she never thought twice about her neighbor, Callie, a single mom who lived 2 doors down, kept to herself, and walked her dog past our house every morning at 6:15 like clockwork. Tessa barely acknowledged her. I think she once called her the beige ghost. But Callie saw everything. The night of Tessa's first girls' trip, Callie was walking her dog past our driveway and happened to glance up. What she saw, and what she would later describe to me in vivid detail, was Tessa standing in our upstairs window, talking on the phone. She wasn't packing. She wasn't getting ready to leave. She was laughing, twirling her hair, whispering. And 15 minutes later, a black SUV pulled up. A man got out, and Tessa rushed downstairs, hopped in, and they drove off. Callie remembered the plates. She remembered the guy, and she remembered that it wasn't Cassidy picking her up. Still, I didn't say anything at the time. I filed it away, quietly. Weeks later, Callie came by with a bottle of wine and a strange look on her face. She said, "I don't mean to intrude, but are you okay?" And that's when I cracked. I told her everything. The cheating, the gaslighting, the text messages, the hotel receipts. Callie just listened. She didn't interrupt, didn't pity me, just nodded like someone confirming what they already suspected. And then she told me something I didn't expect. She had camera footage. Turns out, Callie had a doorbell cam that faced just enough of the street to catch cars pulling into our driveway. And not just that, her son's bedroom camera, which was mounted near the window for safety reasons, had picked up audio from their open window the night Tessa stumbled home giggling with her so-called friend. She gave me everything. Footage, audio, even timestamps. I didn't have to ask twice. And I used it. I added the video to the file I'd already sent to Tessa's company. I attached a new copy to the ongoing divorce proceedings. But the real checkmate? I sent a secure copy to Tessa's parents. The ones who still thought I was the reason their daughter wasn't thriving. I didn't say anything cruel. I didn't even editorialize. I just sent a short message. I thought you should know what I've been dealing with. For your own peace of mind. Her mother responded within 20 minutes. Her exact words? "We had no idea. I'm so sorry, Emery." That's when I knew the tide had turned. Tessa had always controlled the narrative. She'd always played the role of the tired, misunderstood wife married to a passive, boring man who didn't get her. But now the truth was dripping through every crack, and no matter how fast she tried to plug the holes, her version of the story was sinking. Fast. She didn't call me that night. She didn't text either. But Callie did. She wrote. She screamed at the mailbox for 5 minutes. I think it's starting to hit her. It was. But I wasn't finished yet. Because the final piece, the one she never saw coming, wasn't revenge. It was something worse. It was my silence. I never answered her last message. I don't even remember what it said. Something frantic. Something about how she was willing to fix everything now and ready to be honest if I just gave her one more chance. She even said the words I used to beg to hear. I made a mistake. But by then, it was all noise. And I was done listening. There was no dramatic goodbye. No final confrontation. No tears. I didn't pack in front of her or slam the door or make some big declaration about self-respect. That's what she expected. Fireworks. Maybe even a fight she could spin back into pity. But I didn't give her that. I left the keys on the counter, walked out with one suitcase, and never came back. What I didn't take with me was just as important as what I did. I left the photo, the folder, the printouts, the note. I wanted her to sit in it. No more lies. No more pretending. Just the wreckage she built herself. In the months since, she tried everything. Anonymous emails, messages from fake numbers, even sent her sister to check on me like I was some wounded animal sulking in the woods. But I wasn't broken anymore. I was healing. I moved into a quiet apartment across town. Small place. Big windows. Callie helped me pick out furniture. Turns out she's funny, sharp, and way more observant than anyone ever gave her credit for. We're not a thing. Not yet. Maybe never. But she checks in sometimes. Sends me memes. Reminds me I'm not as invisible as I felt for years. The silence? It stopped being heavy. It became peace. And the best part? I started writing again. Something I used to love before life with Tessa shrank me down to a support role. I submitted a short story last week to a local magazine. It's about a man who finally wakes up after being asleep in his own life. Cheesy, I know, but it's mine. I got an email this morning. They're publishing it. And as I sat there, reading the acceptance letter with coffee in one hand and the morning sun spilling across the table, I realized something I hadn't said out loud yet. I'm okay. Not just surviving. Not just existing. Actually okay. She destroyed everything she touched, except me. And that was the one thing she never expected.